This next little segment will be about being tried by ice and by fire. Living up here in Alaska is different. It's a wild country. The whole state of Alaska had just a little over 600,000 people. There's more people than that in Oklahoma City. And Alaska is huge. So living out here, where I do, out in the country, little town of Willow. Willow's really small. You can throw a rock across it. Well, maybe I used to when I was young, but not anymore. But one of the things that I don't like about it is I get lonesome here. And working out in the summer, it's not so bad. I make friends with some of the wild rabbits and some birds. I built a waterfall in a little pond, and a rabbit has come around to visit with me. But sometimes I'd be in my little house in just one room, and I'd look out the window. I'd lean on the windowsill, look out, and about every 3 hours a car would go by. I'd get real excited and I'd wave at that car. Of course, they couldn't see me, but it still made me feel good, like I had a little company or something. And I was leaning on the windowsill, looking outside, and sometimes a moose will come by or something. I'll see eagles, and one time I saw a wolf. But I was looking out the window one day, and I have a little round mirror sitting on the windowsill. And I glanced over at it, and I saw my reflection, and I looked in it, and I started a conversation with myself. Pretty soon I got in an argument. Well, one day, my ex-wife, gave me a phone call. And I missed her quite a bit, but she divorced me after 51 years of marriage. I suppose I'd getting old and she wasn't. A lot of people mistook her for my daughter. But she called me and she wanted to ask me some questions about scripture and stuff, and we had a real good visit, and it made me happy, and she hung up, so I thought I'd celebrate a little bit, and I got in my car and my pickup, and I went down to a little restaurant. It was 20 degrees below zero that day. The sun was shining really bright, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky, but it was 20 below zero. So I ate my breakfast and went into the restroom afterwards and took care of my morning constitution. Got back in the pickup and I started toward the house, and I got to the highway and I looked off to the right about 230 miles away. I could see Denali. It's just magnificent, just so easy to see. She's huge. Being in a good mood and happy like I was, I stopped at the little town of Willow, and there was a little bar there, and I went in to get something to drink. And I went out and I started to get in my pickup, and all of a sudden I had to resort to that old standby deal to protect yourself. You know, I had to clench my anus a little bit because I just about to go to the restroom, and I thought, well, I just did that 10 minutes ago. But nonetheless, I was forced. So I was standing there trying to look like I was looking at something, and the guy in the liquor store looked at me and raised his hands like, what? And I waved at him, nothing, I got it. I was thinking, 3 miles to the house, and over down at the end of these stores and a great gas station on the corner, there's 2 porta potties. I wasn't inclined to use the porta potty when it was 20 below zero, but it was 3 miles to the house, so just as soon as I got a little relief, I jumped in that truck and I took off to go where the porta potty was, but I didn't make it. Oh, that upset me. But I was almost at the porta potty, and I thought I might as well go in there and clean up. And I went in, and I shut the door, and it was awfully cold. And took my pants down, and I'm a little fat fella, and I sat in that porta potty, and it's hard for me to get my boots off on any occasion. So I would sit there with my head up against the door, and I'd finally get my boots off, and now I've got to get my pants off. And I thought, well, it's too cold. But we got to do something. This is a real mess. So I struggled, and finally I got my pants off. And I realized I'd been there long enough that it wasn't nearly as messy as I thought it was, because all that crap down inside my pant leg had frozen. It wasn't smearing around. Oh my God. Well, maybe I should have. If I'd have drove home, I would have been in the pickup, and it wouldn't have froze. It'd have been real messy. But I was really discouraged. I was cold, my teeth were rattling, and I was naked from the waist down. And I thought I got to get my pants back on. And I just couldn't do it. My heart was racing, just rattling like a drum. I just thought about calling my son-in-law. But I thought, if he comes down here and he sees me sitting in this porta potty half naked, he'll never look at me the same again. So I decided not to call him, and I thought, well, you know what? I think I'll just get out in my pickup just as fast as I can. Then I realized it's a service station, and it was one of the only 2 service stations for about 100 miles. If I go running outside like this, somebody sees me and they call the police. They'll think I'm some kind of retard or maniac, something. So I thought I'd better just sit here. But I couldn't sit too long. It was too awfully cold. My feet were hurting. My legs, I was shaking all over. So I thought, well, I'll just calm down. I haven't died yet. So I sat there a little while longer, and I thought, well, I cannot take any more of this. I'm about to freeze. So I endeavored to get up so I could get a little leverage and stand up, pull my pants up. I finally got them around my ankles. And I started to stand up, and I realized, you know what, I don't think my skin could stick to the plastic that they have in porta potties. Like you don't want to touch your lip to an iron pole outside, but I didn't think the skin would stick to the plastic. But what I didn't think about is my crap was frozen to it, and I was frozen to my crap. So I started to get up, and I was stuck. My butt was stuck on the porta potty. Oh, man. So I gave it a little extra effort, and I ripped myself off of that seat like Velcros. And I went out and got my pickup and drove home. I threw all those clothes away, took a shower, and afterwards I felt really good. I felt like I had a good day because I was warm in my little place. That was a story about how I was tried by ice. This next one is about by fire. At this moment, I've been 3 months rehabilitating from burns. One night about 3 o'clock, I got up to go visit my honey potting in my little one-room shack. I knew where everything was, even though I couldn't see. And I'd bump into things a little bit, maybe trip over a wire, but I got to where my bucket was. I reached down to pick it up. The next thing I remembered was I was on the floor. I'd woke up on the floor. So I tried to get up, and I couldn't do it. I didn't have the energy. Well, the stove, little wood burn stove, was still kind of warm. So I just went back to sleep. Next morning, I got up and I crawled over and I got to where I could stand up, and I went outside. My daughter's house about 40 feet away. I had to go up some stairs. So I walked up those stairs, went in her house, and I was looking at my left arm, and it was nasty, and it had been bleeding. There was some holes in it, little holes. So I went over and I said, Sonia, you got any hydrogen peroxide? Can you help me clean my arm up? She looked up at me and looked at my arm. She made me turn around and she looked at my shirt. She said, part of your shirt burned off. She said, no, I'm not going to clean you up. Let's go get in the pickup. I'm taking you to the clinic. Well, the thing I found out at the clinic was I had severe burns and they couldn't handle it there. They told Sonia to take me to my primary doctor, so she took me to Wasilla. It was about 45 minutes away, and we got there, and the primary doctor said she couldn't handle it either, so they sent me to the hospital. Now, at this date and time, it's about 3 months later. Some of the wounds on my back, 2 of them, are just about to heal up. One in my hip and thigh has still got a deep open wound burn. My arms are cleaned up. But they say it will be probably 2.5 more months before I can take a shower, because my wound will probably be closed by then. So people, they wonder about that, wondered how it was possible. And I told them about how lonesome I get. You remember my part about looking out the window. That I thought about the old Oscar Mayer Wiener jingle. I wish I were an Oscar Mayer Wiener. An Oscar Mayer Wiener I would be. If I were an Oscar Mayer Wiener, everyone would be in love with me. So poof, I was an Oscar Mayer Wiener. Guess what? No company, nobody visiting. So then I realized that most people like their hot dogs roasted. So, well, that might sound like a crude joke, but it did kind of work, because for 3 months, I have about 3-4 different nurses. They're all ladies, and they all visit me. They all have their hands all over me. That's not so bad.